Hi everybody, Stephen Aitchison here. Okay, today I want to speak about developing the belief of being a writer. One of the biggest things that we writers and authors have is something called imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome is whereby, and this pertains to anything, it's not just about writing, it's not just about being an author, this pertains to kind of anything you do. And I've certainly had this throughout my whole life, and I would imagine you would have too. You're doing something that you love doing, and for example, writing, and you kind of read over your stuff and you go, oh wow, just loving doing this, loving the writing, and you go, I'm going to make millions from this book, whatever, and then there's a little voice inside your head that kind of creeps in and says, who the hell are you to write a book? Who do you think you are? Who's going to listen to you? And you start to listen to that little voice. And then you look at the 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 words you've written and go, actually, this is not that good. I'm not that good a writer. Why the hell did I call myself a writer? Why do I think I can be an author? It's called imposter syndrome. Now, there's a way to get over that. It's about developing the sure-fast belief that you are a writer and you are an author. Now, there's a difference between writer and author, and we'll explain about that in a second. But to develop the belief that you're a writer, there's a formula. And I've written a kind of book called The Belief Principle, and I've studied this. I've done kind of psychology degree and stuff like that, and this was my main thing. It was all about how we develop our personal beliefs. So I've written a book called The Belief Principle, and in it we talk about how do you develop a belief in the first place. So if you want to kind of install a new belief, there's a formula for that. And if you want to install the belief that you're a writer, the formula is perception plus evidence plus repetition plus time equals belief. So perception plus evidence plus repetition plus time equals belief. So let me explain. So when you've got the perception, okay, you want to install the belief that you are a writer, and you want to feel that you're a writer, and you really want to kind of feel it in your bones and really believe it in your bones as well. This is how you go about it. So you start off with the perception. What is the perception? It usually starts off with an I am statement. I am a writer. You can't say I am an author until you're published, but I am a writer. You want to install that belief. Now that's the perception part. That's really ultimately what you're looking to perceive yourself as. I am a writer. Now the evidence part is you collect evidence from your past to say that proves you want to be a writer, and you are a writer. So you could say, okay, I wrote stories when I was younger. I've been writing them all my life. I've kept a journal all my life. I've done a blog for the last 5 years, or I've been writing for the last 2 months, non-stop for the last 2 months. That makes you a writer. That's evidence. So you gather a portfolio of evidence up in your mind just to say, I am a writer. So it might be that you kept a journal for all of your life. You've done it ever since you were younger. That means you're a writer. It doesn't matter what you write. As long as you're writing something on a regular basis, you're a writer. So you kept a journal. Then kind of later on in life you started a blog. That's another piece of evidence. Then you wrote a short story. Another piece of evidence. So gather up all these pieces of evidence to say, I am a writer. It proves you're a writer. So you could say to somebody, here's the portfolio that I have to prove I'm a writer. I've got all these journals, I've got these short stories, I've got these kind of Word documents online, or whatever it is. However, if you've not got evidence, you start from now. So you still start with the perception to say I'm a writer, and then you write something. So if you wrote 100 words yesterday, you're a writer. That's a piece of evidence to prove to yourself, not to others. It's about proving to yourself that you are a writer. If you write 100 words the next day, you're a writer. Strengthens that belief. 100 words the next day, 200 words the next day, you are a writer. Strengthens that belief. More and more evidence all the time. Repetition. Repetition part comes in with every single belief that we have. When you say to yourself, I am good at maths, and you've said it through your whole life, you said, I'm good at maths. You've been told it, the teachers have told you, you've got high marks for maths, or math if you're in America, that you've just told yourself that. That is essential repetition, which is really an affirmation. So you've told yourself this affirmation over and over and over and over again, which is how you form a belief. Repetition. I'm a writer. New piece of evidence. I'm a writer. You keep on saying it. Repetition. Affirmation. Repetition. Affirmation. Every piece of evidence that you get. If you sit down and write in your journal, I'm a writer. Affirmation and repetition. And you keep on repeating that throughout, from now on. I am a writer. You say that to yourself all the time, I am a writer. And the more you strengthen this belief, your perception of what a writer is, i.e. somebody who sits down, writes a book, or writes in a journal, or writes short stories, or writes a screenplay, doesn't matter what it is, or writes in a blog, your perception of that will be strengthened. And the perception of yourself will be strengthened, and your belief in yourself will be strengthened as well. The more you repeat this to yourself, the more evidence you find. And it's a cycle. So you'll get this cycle of more evidence you find, the stronger the affirmation is going to be. And the stronger the affirmation, you're going to find more evidence. And the more evidence you get and the stronger the affirmation, you're going to want to do more. You're going to be motivated more as well. So that's the repetition part. Now the time part comes in the longer that you have this perception of yourself, the longer that you find evidence, and the more and the longer that you've kind of told yourself, I'm a writer, i.e. repetition, the longer that, and that equals time, a long time, that will become a strongly held belief. Now it's not going to happen overnight, but if you use that formula, or just think about it, what from your past could provide evidence that you're a writer? Did you write stories when you were younger? Do you write stories now? Do you write a blog just now? Do you write screenplays? It doesn't matter if they're being published or not. It doesn't matter. Just if you write and you love the act of writing, you love the act of creating something from your mind or whatever. It could be non-fiction, it could be fiction, it doesn't matter what it is. So if you have that, that's evidence to build up for your belief. That's how a belief is formed. If you think about every single belief, personal belief that you have about yourself, it is formed in exactly that way. So this is not just about writing. This is about your whole life. So why not use how we form beliefs for yourself? Use that kind of knowledge to make yourself a better person. Make yourself the person you want to be. If you want to be a writer, use the knowledge of how beliefs are formed to become a writer. Now, I'm not going to say it makes you a good writer. What makes you a good writer is practicing writing. The more you write, the better you're going to get. The more you read, the better a writer you're going to become as well. But that's for another kind of video. Now, the difference between a writer and an author, as I was kind of talking about earlier on, a writer is somebody who writes. It's the act of writing something. It could be a journal, as I said, the blog, or whatever it is, and you do when you're writing something down. That makes you a writer. You're a writer. Now, an author is someone who's had their work published. So that is more or less the same kind of thing. If you want to install the belief that you're an author, as soon as you publish something, it's not about installing a belief. You are an author. You publish something. You're an author. But you're also a writer and an author. So another way to strengthen this is whenever you're talking to somebody and they say, what do? You just say, I'm a writer, but I also do blah, 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 whatever your job is. So if you're a plumber, you just say, I'm a writer and I'm a plumber. So writer first. I'm a writer and I'm a plumber. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, just say I'm a plumber, but I'm also a writer as well. So that's another, and just keep on saying that. Do it in your emails. Have a link to the work that you've done online, just to say I'm a writer. So you can say at the bottom of your emails, I'm also a writer who writes kind of short stories, and you have a link over to it. So in your emails, whenever you're talking about yourself, whenever you're introducing yourself, you're a writer. Or if your partner's introducing you, say he's a writer. So don't feel embarrassed about being a writer or calling yourself a writer just because you've not got something published. That's not what being a writer is. A writer is someone who writes. An author is someone who's published what they've written. Or published even somebody else's work. That is an author. It doesn't have to be your own. It could be ghostwritten work as well. That's what an author is. So it doesn't even have to be your own. But strengthen the belief that you're a writer every single day. Tell yourself you're a writer. And the more you tell yourself, the more affirmations you say to yourself about being a writer. And it's not about kind of affirmations, kind of the kind of gaga stuff that you hear. Affirmations work. You've been using them every single day of your life and you don't even realise it. So don't dismiss affirmations because you're using them right now. The very fact that you don't think affirmations work is an affirmation in and of itself. So use that knowledge to strengthen your belief as a writer. Okay, until next time. Namaste. Take care. Bye now.